Ogunleye, and I am one of the assistant class captain for this Power BI developer class. And I'll be taking us through 3 topics tonight, which are transpose, unpivot, and pivot. Why are these topics important? So we need to know these topics because some of our data from the source, right from the source, comes in unstructured formats. When I say unstructured format, it doesn't mean that we can't use the data for our analysis, but it means that the way the data came, it's not good for the type of analysis we want to conduct. So we need to restructure it to be suitable for the type of analysis we want to conduct in order to be able to get the perfect result for our analysis. And that is why we need to know these 3 topics, which are transpose, unpivot, and pivot. What is transpose? Transpose is basically moving your rows to columns and moving columns to rows. Yeah, full flip. Yeah, that is transpose, meaning that converting the whole of your columns to rows and converting the whole of your rows to columns. That is transpose. What is unpivot? Unpivot means that converting a part or some part of your columns to rows. And what is pivot? Pivot means that converting your rows to columns based on a key column. So for unpivot, you don't need to convert the entire columns to rows. It's just some parts of your columns that will be converted to rows when you are doing unpivoting. So now I will take us through the slides while I explain further. So this is transpose. So for transpose, your rows becomes columns and your columns becomes rows. So when do you transpose? So let's say, for example, now you have a data, or you have a data whereby you know that all the information in that data are supposed to be they are supposed to be in columns, not rows. That is when you do transpose. Like every information that you need are in columns. Let's say, for example, you notice that, okay, there are more than one item in your list that has to be restructured. When you look at a particular row, it needs to be a particular column, it needs to be in row and it's now in column. So you know that, okay, you need to transpose, you need to convert it to column, so you'll be able to use it for your analysis. For this example now, look at this. Now we have our year. This one is before transpose. We have our year here, the first column. Under the year, we have fruits, then followed by amounts. Then look at the second column now. We have 2021. 2021 is what? 2021 is our year, right? After 2021, under 2021, we have orange. Orange is what? Orange is fruit. Then the next one we have 661, which is amount. The next column, which is the last column, we have 2022. Then the next one we have orange, which is also a fruit, and we have 441, which is amount. Given this data, if you give this data to a layman, will the person be able to understand the information you're trying to pass, or will the person understand this data? The person will just say that, okay, we have year, we have 2021, we have 2022. Like ordinary person will not understand what you have here. Even you as a data analyst, you might not be able to make meaning out of this data. And that is why you need to transpose, whereby your 2021 comes under your year, your 2022 comes under your year, then your fruit goes to the column and your amount goes to the column. Look at this one now. This is the example for after you've done your transpose. So now our year is in the proper column, right? Then under the year, we have our 2021, we have 2022. Then we have fruit also, and under fruit we have orange. Orange is a fruit. Then we have the next orange for 2022. Then the last column is our amounts. We on the amounts we have 661 and 441. So that is why we transpose. So before transpose, we have how many columns do we have here? We have 3 columns. Even after transpose, we still have 3 columns. So it still stands like that. So that will lead me to the next topic on the list, which is on pivots. What is unpivot? Unpivot is just you converting some parts of your columns to rows in order for it to be in proper format. So let's say, for example, you have a survey data where your respondents, or where each row represents a question, and those responses are probably in columns, right? So in that kind of format, you cannot have your responses in columns. You have to switch the data in order for it to be suitable for the analysis you want to conduct. So for this example now, before we on pivot, we have products. Under products, we have laptop. Then after laptop, we have phone. The next one, we have store A. Under store A, we have 20. After 20, we have 50, right? Then the next one, we have store B. After store B, under store B, we have 15. Then the next one, we have 45. Then the last column, which is the fourth column, we have store C. Then under store C, we have 30 and we have 40. Looking at this now, I don't know what is happening here, right? I just know we have 20, we have 50, we have 15, we have 45, we have 30, we have 40. I still don't understand this data. That is where that is why I need to unpivot, so it will make more sense to me. So look at this example now after unpivoting. So now for the products, we have laptop, 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 phone, phone, phone. Then the next column, we have store. We have store A, store B, store C, store A, store B, store C again. But if you look at this one, the data here before the unpivoting, we have store A, store B, store C as the column, right? And we still don't understand what it means. But if you look at the product, we have laptop, we have phone. And if you look at this data here after we unpivot, it still stands. Our products still remain the same, right? But our store now have a proper header. And under the store, we now have the data for the store, which is store A, store B, store C. Then the last column, we have store quantity. Look at this now. The numbers are spread across the other column, the cells here, right? But this is not making full sense to us yet. But if you look at this one now, we have store quantity. It gives us an idea of what should be here. So that is why we have the numbers under store quantity, meaning that for laptop in store A, we have 20 pieces. For laptop in store B, we have 15 pieces. For laptop in store C, we have 30 pieces, like that, like that. So let's move on to the next topic. So the next topic is, which is the last topic that I'll be talking about, is pivot. What is pivoting? Pivoting is just you converting your rows into columns, meaning that the rows becomes columns. And let's say, for example, when do you use pivot? Let's say, for example, you have a sales data that is recorded in, let's say, rows for different years, and you want to do a comparison. Let's say your boss said, okay, Denike, I want to see the quantity for each store side by side. Yes, that is when you know, okay, pivot your data so you can show it to your boss. the format that he wanted. So look at this data now. This is the data before pivoting. So before we pivoted the data, we have products. Under product, we have laptop, we have chair, and we have chair. Then the next column we have year. Under year, we have 2024, 2025, 2024, 2025. Then the last column we have sales. Under sales, we have 300K, meaning that in 2024, laptop was 300K. The next one we have 700K. The next one we have 200K, and we have 400K. So now this is the pivoted data. We've done the pivoting here, and for our columns we have product as the first header. After product, we have 2024. If you look at this one here, the 2024 is actually under year, meaning that year is the column, is the header for this column, for the second column. But year 2024 is now the header for it. Then under laptop, we have under 2024, which is laptop, the row for laptop, we have 300K.
I cannot hear Nika again. Can anybody hear?
I can't
No, we
see
can't.
also.
No, we can't. No.
Why did you mute yourself now, Nika?
Maybe she had the call.
I don't know why okay. When did you people stop hearing me? Can anyone hear me?
You can hear you. Just continue.
Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, thank you very much. Can you still see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. So I'll go over pivoting again. So pivoting means converting your rows into columns, meaning that the rows becomes column. And when do you pivot? When you pivot when you want to do a side-by-side comparison of probably, let's say, sales, for example. Now, let's say your boss requested for a report that, okay, I want to see the sales for so year side by side. I don't want to be looking at the rows or anything. I just want to see them side by side. So I'll be able to, look at or get the information that I need from that data. So look at this example before pivoting now. For our rows, we have products. Under product, we have laptop, chair, and chair. Then for the next column, the header is year. And under year, we have 2024, 2025, 2024, and 2025. Then for the sales, we have 300K, 700K, 200K, and 400K. So then look at this data now. After pivoting, we have products. The header still stands, products. Then the product still stands also, but the product is now reduced to 1H. So we have laptop and we have chair. So look at the next column, which is 2024. For 2024, we have 300K, meaning that in 2024, laptop was sold for 300K and chair was sold for 200K. So this pivoting is based on what your boss requested for. For in 2025, laptop was sold for 700K and chair was sold for 400K. So that is all about pivoting. In summary, transpose means converting your rows to columns and converting your columns to rows. And transpose is actually a full flip, meaning that converting the entire columns to rows, while pivoting is a partial flip, meaning that converting a part of the unpivot to columns and to rows. I mean, part of the columns to rows, while pivot is converting your rows to columns. So I will I'll have a run through of the example that I have here. So
Okay,
now,
hello, Nike.
yes, sir.
Yeah, before you go ahead with the practical, so I just really want to say
Okay, sir.
something.
Okay, sir.
So just a recap of what Nike has said, so that everybody understands what she's saying. Transpose, when you transpose, just like the way what she wants to show you in Excel now, it means that you are completely changing all the rows to column, and all the columns now becomes row. That is for transpose. For unpivots, right? That one, you are converting part of your columns, not the entire column, but part of your columns to rows, right? While preserving some other important column. Maybe, for example, maybe like your order ID column. You preserve that column while the other columns, right, will be unpivoted. That is, the columns become rows, right? That is for the unpivots. So just to get it clear, that unpivot does not mean, it does not same thing as transpose, right? And for pivoting, right, is more of like you trying to summarize or the structure how the data looks. So in this context now, it is some part of your rows now becoming columns while you are preserving others. So what you are preserving, right, would depend on the kind of analysis that you want to do. The columns you are preserving or the rows you are preserving, depending on whether you are doing on pivot or pivots, depends on the whether the row or the columns that you're trying to preserve while you pivot or unpivot the other ones, right? So that is exactly what it means. So is there any question before she goes to the practical part from anyone? If there are no questions, Nika, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much for that, sir. So this is the data we'll be using for our transpose. I have a question, please. Class, how many columns can you see here in this data? How many columns can you see?
Just 3.
3, right?
3.
Can you please tell me the 3 columns?
Yeah, fruits and
Okay, someone is saying 17. Hello.
Yes, is it not columns? Yes. How many columns? Right?
Yes, how many columns?
Yeah,
There are
columns
more
are
than
17.
17 columns.
Yeah.
17 columns.
Okay. How many
And
rows?
3 rows. 3 rows.
3
rows.
Okay,
3 rows.
okay,
3
so
rows.
I have another question. Can you make any meaning from this data?
No.
No, right?
Not really.
Okay, so that is why we need to transpose. So ideally, right, ignoring the structure of the data, ideally, how many columns can you see? As a data analyst,
3.
how many columns can you see? Ignoring how structured the
3
data
columns.
is, how many columns can you see? 3, right?
3 columns. 3
Thank
columns.
you very much. 3 columns. Can somebody please tell me the columns?
Yeah,
That's
year,
fruits
column,
and
Yeah.
amount.
foods, and the amount.
God bless you. So that is why we need to transpose. So the year goes to the columns, and the fruit also goes to the columns, and the amount also goes to the columns. So that is why we need to do transpose. Now let's talk about unpivot. So for this unpivot now, how many columns can we see? You are not a data analyst now,
13.
right? How many columns can you see?
13.
Okay, but ideally, as a data analyst, how many columns are we supposed to have?
3.
13.
How many are we supposed to have as a data analyst that wants to carry out
3.
analysis on this data?
3.
Supposed to have 2.
3.
I think
3.
maybe 2
Final
for
answer.
amount. Something like that.
Final answer. 3.
Yeah.
That should
Final
be
answer.
month and store.
3 columns.
2.
Have 2 columns.
Months and
3
store.
columns. 3 columns.
2.
3. The
3.
store.
2.
The store
the month and the is it
Three.
amount? Yes,
Store
amount.
months
Okay.
and amount.
If you are for 3, raise your hand. If you are for 2, raise your hand. Use your virtual hand. Let's see.
Supposed to be 3 columns.
If you are for 3,
Columns,
use
3
your virtual
columns.
hand. If you are for 2, use your virtual hand. Let's see who is going to win.
It's
I'm
3.
for 3 too.
Okay. Final
I'm for
answer.
2.
How many?
2.
2, Abby. Okay, so the person saying 2, can you please tell us the columns?
Yeah, the store and month.
Okay. For the people saying 3, can you please tell us the columns?
Store
Us, the months and the amount.
Amount.
Okay, thank you. We'll find out soon.
Store
Let's move
month
to.
amount.
Okay, we'll find out soon. Let's move to pivoting. For pivoting, right? How many columns do we have?
3.
How many
We have
columns do we have?
3 columns.
But if
We have
we are
3
to pivot,
columns.
okay, but if we are to pivot based on the information or based on my definition, how many are we supposed to have?
13.
13. Okay, we'll find out soon. Let's go to Power BI.
If you have a noisy background, please can you just mute yourself? If your background is very noisy, can you mute yourself, please?
Okay, we are in Power BI now, and we want to transpose. People said we are supposed to have 3 columns ideally for this data. So now let's find out if that was right. So now, how do we transpose? When you load your data into Power Query, right? So this is our data in Power Query now. We used I used get data to import this data into Power Query. We all know that. So now we want to transpose. So for transpose, you don't even need to click on anything or probably click on a column or a cell or anything. So you can just come to your home tab. Where after the home, you come to transform. So when you click on transform, you'll see transpose right here. Then you click on transpose. Okay, yeah, we actually have 3 columns. So to everyone that said 3, you guys are right. But something is still missing. Can somebody point it out? There's something else we need
Yes,
to do.
the first row should be off.
The header, the column header.
All right. Okay, thank you very much. So we now do use first row as headers. So now our data is ready for analysis. So now let's move on to Unpivot. So for Unpivot, some people voted 3 while some said 2. Let's find out. So if you are going to be unpivoting your data, you need to highlight a particular column. So for example, now we want to unpivot all of these months, right? So we just need to click on it, highlight it, but that will be too stressful. What if you have lots of columns, right? It will be too stressful for you to, highlight everything all at once. So that is why we are going to be using, because for Unpivot, we have options, right? So that is why we are going to be using one of the options. So what we want on pivot is the month. So I'm clicking on stop now, meaning that I want to unpivot all of this, the rest of the data, but the store should remain. I don't want to unpivot the store. It should remain the same, but others should come to columns. So you come to your transform again, then you come here, you'll see unpivot. That is where you have your options. Unpivot columns, meaning that, okay, I want to unpivot this store. No. Unpivot other columns, meaning that, okay, leave this store column and unpivot the rest of the columns. So that is what we're going to be using, unpivot other columns. Okay, so to everyone that said 3, you guys are right. So we have 3 columns. So let's give our header a proper name. For this attribute, let's name it to month. Then for this value, let's rename it to amount. Okay, so we are done with Unpivot. Now let's move to pivot, which is the final one. So for this pivot, right, we want the columns to become rows, right? So for this pivot, it's also based on a key column. So meaning that, okay, since I want to do on pivot, since I want to pivot this data now, I want this month, because that is what I want to use. I want this month, like January, February, March, like that, to become the header for my data, because that is what I want to see. That is what my boss requested for. So this one is on store like this. So I'll just come to transform. When I come to transform, so I'll come to pivot column. When I come to pivot column, it's going to show the rest of the data and the rest of the header, but it won't show the store, the particular store that I highlighted. So I want to use quantity to distribute my data. So I've picked quantity, then I'll click OK. But before OK, let me do not sum. It's on sum now, so don't aggregate. I don't want it to sum it up. So let's do OK and see what happens. So this is it now. I still have my month, right? My month here, and I can actually do the other way around, whereby the month will go to the header and the stuff remains the same. So I have my month, I have under month, I have all of the quantities here under month. So
Can you just
we are
do it instead of just saying
again.
you can do it? Just please show them.
Okay,
So you
okay. So
can
let's
remove
see.
that one and thank you.
Okay, so let's see. Mm-mm-mm. So we want to do same quantity. So can you see now? We have January, we have February. I highlighted the months because I want my months to go to the columns. So remember the definition, meaning that convert rows to columns based on a key column. So my January is the key column. So convert it based on January for sorry, my month is the key column. So convert it based on the month for me. So meaning that all the months should go to the headers. All the months should become the headers. So that's basically pivoting. Questions?
Well done, Nikki. I have a question.
All right, sir.
So in what scenario are we using those aggregators, like the sum, all of those things?
Those aggregate. Okay. So
Those aggregators.
let's say this one now, because this one is not much, I don't want to sum it. But let's say we have like a large volume of data and I want it to sum the total thing up for me. So like I want to see the total, let's see before I unpivot. So let me unpivot. So this quantity now, I want it to sum it up for me. Like I want to see the whole quantity. For this one is not amount. Okay, let's say amount for sales. So I want it to sum up the sales for me for store 1 in the month of January. Sum up the sales for me for store 2 in the month of January. That is when you use the aggregate functions.
Okay.
Yes. So that will be all for tonight from me.
Okay. You know what, Nikki? Can we do something?
Okay, sir.
Can you go to the settings on the pivoted column?
Okay.
Go to the settings button there. Yes. Let's try something. Go to the advanced option. Let's explore this part very well.
Okay.
So you put it on sum, right?
Yes.
But when you put it on sum, I mean, the actual sense, does anything really change?
This one did not change because this is actually quantity. And
Yeah.
because it's quantity. So assuming we have like
connected to my phone or what?
Sorry, who is that? Okay, continue. Yeah, okay.
So this did not change because it's actually quantity. right?
Okay.
And it's not much. Assuming we have like um total sales or like that, it will sum it
Mm,
up. But because this one is
okay.
quantity, it's not summing it.
Okay. 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 I'm just looking for a scenario where we can actually use those aggregators.
Okay.
Okay, so what if let's try something. What if we don't want the month to be showing? We just want total by each store. Let's try that now. So
You
go back
just
to
want
that.
what?
The total quantity by each store.
Okay. So are we using store? Is that what you
You're
want us
using
to use
store
it?
now.
So this is it.
What did you
Okay,
do?
you mean we should use store. Okay, so let me just do store.
It should not be showing us months.
Okay, so that means the store becomes it will become our header.
We don't need the month at all.
Okay.
Do you understand?
So this is it.
This is not really what I want. I don't know if anybody understand what I want. I want to be
Okay,
seeing the
let's try the
store.
last option.
Yes, I want to be seeing the store. I don't need to see months. I don't need months. I just need total for each store.
Okay.
Let's try that.
Is it this?
No. Go to the settings, remove it. Let's try it. So
Okay.
let's click on.
So which key column are we using?
The key column should be store.
Okay. If the key column is store, the store goes to
Yes.
the header.
The store goes to the header, Abby.
Yes.
No, I don't want store to go to the header.
Okay.
And if I say month will
So
go to the
let's do
header
it
too,
this
Abby.
way. Let's do month. The month goes to the header, but rather than using quantity, let's use okay, yeah, let's use store.
Let's use store.
So this is what we
Let's see.
have if we are not using quantity. So the quantity comes to the first this thing rows.
Okay. That
To
means
the
this thing
first columns, I think.
cannot really do what I want then. Maybe we are not getting it right, but no
So
issues.
that's why we have Unpivot
Okay, so Mr.
transpose. So
Gbenga.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
go ahead.
what you want to do is most likely that you will have to use group by to achieve that.
You have to do group by. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Okay, don't worry, you're good. Thank you.
all right. Thank you
I
for
want to just
having
get
me.
clarity on that part. Please
Okay.
let's clap for Nike, please.
Thank you for having
Let's
me.
give her a round of
So
applause,
I will
please.
stop sharing now.
You can stop sharing. Thank you so much.
All
Highly
right. Thank you
appreciated.
very much.
Thank you. Okay, so guys, let's move to the last part of the class today. We'll be looking at appending and probably merge. Although I've showed you guys merge before when we were doing the logical model, but I'm still going to quickly show us merge, right? So let me start sharing. So prepare for Isaiah next week. He's going to be taking us through group by next week. Or it's taking us to aggregated tables, how you can aggregate tables, the 3 methods of aggregation. Okay, so in the append, I want to show you guys. So this is my scenario. I have an Excel file. The first worksheet there has sales between a particular time period to the end of a time period. And I have another worksheet inside that same workbook that has sales from a particular time.
We can't see your Excel sheet.
No, I'm not showing you my Excel sheet. Don't worry about the Excel sheet. I'll just bring in data, right? So the first table is called sales one. The second one is called sales two. They have the same headers all through, but it's just that the sales dates, right? The dates range between the two tables are different. It's like saying sales one table has sales data from 2001, 2005, and the other one starts from 2006 to 11, something like that, right? So I'm going to just bring in the data. I'm going to say new source. I hope you can see my screen, right? Excel work.
Yes,
Can you see
sir.
my screen, guys?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So I'm just going to say it's on my desktop, and I'm going to say append, and I click on open, right? Then let it establish connection for a little seconds. Now I have the two here. I have sales 1 and I have sales 2, right? Okay, I'm going to click on OK. Now don't forget what we did last week about enable load and what? Including refresh. Now these two tables now, sales 1 and sales 2, by the time I append them together, right, they are going to become helper queries, right? Because they are just a means to an end. Now, sales 1, let's look at the date range for sales 1. This is starting from the 5th of December 2013 to, it can't show all, but at least to 2016. And let's see when sales 2 is starting from. Sales 2 is starting from, is this even correct? What's the first one starting from? Okay, I didn't arrange this thing well, but no issues. It's just for you to get the concept anyway. So they are like data. Let's just assume that the scenario is that the data are scattered around different places, right? We have some data in sales 1, we have some in sales 2, but in this scenario now, what I wanted to achieve before was to have data of different years in different places, but it seems I didn't do it the right way. So I have data scattered around the two tables, right? Not like it must be like a year after year, something like that. No, but in this scenario now, it's just like data is there, data is there, right? So, and I want to bring the two together. How do I do that? I do that with what is called append, right? So, how do I append? So, I can append, for example, I can append sales 2 inside sales 1 and make that like my new table, right? My new sales table. Or I can decide to append them as a new table. So, as I'm appending the two of them, I'm creating a new table that the two tables are now appended in that new table instead of me appending 2 in 1 or 1 inside 2, something like that, right? So let's go to, I'm clicking on sales 1. Now I'm going to go to, what's it called? I'm going to look for my append. Now, if you see append queries under your home tab or your home menu. Now you can click on this drop down. You see two options there, append queries as new. If I append query, now let me start with the first one. Let me click on append query. Now, when I click on this append query, right, this window will come out, will tell me concatenate rows from two tables into a single table, right? So because I clicked on sales 1 before going to click on the append query, right? So it will assume that I'm bringing another table, like rows from another table into this sales 1 table, right? So by default, you will first see it on 2 tables. But in case you have more than 2 tables, they are going to click on 3 or more tables, right? So 2 tables in this case, right? So table to append, I want to append sales 2 with sales 1, right? You know, I'm clicking on sales 1. Assuming I was clicking on sales 2. What I will look for in this drop down here is sales 1, right? But I'm on sales 1. So I want to append with what? Sales 2. So I'll click on sales 2. If I'm appending more than 2 tables, I'm going to click on 3 or more tables. Then whatever table I want to append, I'm going to look for it here, and I'm going to click on add. So let me remove this one first. Let me remove it. Oh my, is there a way I can do that? Let me cancel. So append again, append queries. So I'll just click on 3 or more. Aha. So see it here now, right? Then I come here, I click on sales 2, and I click on add. So it moves from the left to the right. Available tables is showing on your left, then tables to append is showing on the right, right? Then when I'm done, I can then click on, I can even remove. Okay, there are 3 options there, move up, move down, remove and move. Okay, I was about doing that before, but I didn't get it. So sales 2, let's say I made a mistake of bringing sales 2 to the list of the tables I want to append, and I don't want sales 2 again. I can click on this remove. I don't want to remove sales 2 from these tables to append, right? So I bring it back again, I click on add, and I press OK. So let's see what happens. Now, before I appended, how many rows do I have here? How do I know that? I go to my view, I go to my column profile. I have 7,498 rows, right? Before going to do the append. Now, when I click on the appended transformation step now, how many rows do I have now? Let's wait and see. I have 15,000 rows now, right? So it means that the one coming from this other one is around that maybe 6,000 plus. That's why I have this 15,000 now after appending. So the information from sales 2 has not joined what I have in sales 1 by the virtue of append. So because now this is looking very simple, right? It's looking very simple because the header names, the name of my headers, my column names, they are the same all through the two tables. So if you look at it now, order ID, order date, unit cost, blah, blah, blah. When I go here also, it's the same column name that I have all through the two tables. That's why it's looking like it's very simple, right? Now, the reason why we are taking this topic, we know that some of you already know this topic. It looks like, what is there in a pen now? There's nothing there, right? But I have come across a situation whereby, so let me make you understand what happened to me that time that made me know that sometimes it can be a little complex and confusing if maybe for instance you have columns that mean the same thing, but the names they gave it are different. And let me give you an example. While I was working somewhere in Nigeria, so I was reporting for two countries, Nigeria and Ghana. Now, the way the database is set up for Ghana is different from the way the database is set up for Nigeria. And I'm reporting for the two, and the two have to show on my report. Like, for example, I have a matrix table or I have a column chart. I have to show report of these two regions, these two countries inside one, maybe inside a chart or inside a matrix table or whatever. Now, for example, something might be called probably sales in the Nigerian table. And when you get to the Ghana table, it might be called total sales, for example, right? Now, when I do that append, it's not going to work for me. You know why? Because the names of the columns are not the same. So what did I do? What I did was to change. So if I wanted to use the Nigerian standard in terms of the column names, right, that means I have to go to the Ghana table and probably change all the names of the column to the same thing I have with the Nigerian table. So that when I do my append, it's going to pick the exact column. It's going to append the exact columns together. It means that rows from that intended, how will I put it? The way I intend it is that rows from those columns are going to, one is going to be up, the other is going to be down, right? Now, what I'm just telling you in conclusion is this. If you meet yourself in that kind of situation, what you would do is to make sure that the column headers from each table, they are the same all through before your append can work. So you don't assume that Power BI should just understand it. The Power BI should understand it that total sales in table A is the same thing as sales in table B. No, it doesn't work like that, right? They have to be the same name, and you have to be careful of something. Do you know that it's very possible that the reason why your append is not working sometimes is because, for example, now look at this order quantity. After order is a space between QTY. If in the other table, what you have is order and QTY together without spacing, right? And you append, it's not going to recognize that they are the same. They are the same columns from two different or two or more tables. Even the spacing between your words and everything has to be exactly the same. Is that clear? So, is there any question on append before I move on? Any question? Is it clear to us?
No question from my end. I think it's clear enough.
Okay, thank you. So I assume it is clear, right? So let's be careful of those things. Make sure the spacing between the words, the names, they are the same. Never assume anything. Another issue you might have is this. There are some times that table A might have 15 columns and table B might have 13 columns. Can somebody tell me what to do in that kind of situation? Anybody? And I want to append the two tables. Can anybody try? Table A, 15 columns, table B, 13 columns.
Okay, just off of my head,
Okay.
maybe create those two columns, like the extra two that's not in the other one. Just add them and they will have null values. Just let them be empty, but let the column exist, I think.
Where the column name just exists there.
Yes.
Like there's nothing inside.
Yes.
Okay. What do you think? What do you think what would be the impact of that on your data? Even your optimization.
True, for optimization. Yeah, it may have space as per the optimization. I don't know what the impact. It will add extra space, but for the analysis, you understand that the values did not exist in the other table. So, like, in analysis, you should remember that. That's just what I think off of my head.
Okay. That's what you think. Okay. Any other person, can you try? Situations whereby the number of
How
columns
about
are not the same.
removing the columns that are not on the other one, that is present, the two columns that is not on the other one, that is present in the other file, other data?
You just remove it.
Yes, I'll suggest removing the ones that are not there.
What if those columns are very important for your analysis?
Exactly.
So I would suggest for the optimization, for the sake of optimization, I would say, just like the first person said, create a space, create that column in the other one that is not there, make the space empty, and then come back when you are finished appending, come and do a little cleanup later.
Do a little cleanup. What kind of cleanup, sir?
So I don't know yet, but a little cleanup.
Okay, Mr. Bolamucho, our mentor. What's your take on this?
Sorry. I'm not really, I'm kind of a little bit lost. Like, I have a little bit distraction. So I don't know what the request is. So I don't know if you can just help me recap.
Is this. In appending, there are sometimes that the number of columns between the two tables you want to append are not the same. Table A has 15 columns. Table B has 13 columns. And somebody said, why not create those empty columns in the second one that does not have up to the first one? So by the time you merge, the only thing is that the other ones we have empty. When you do that append rather, the other ones will be empty for the table A, and it will be something will be there for table B. I'm not saying that for optimization, is that really advisable?
Okay. I think I've not actually experienced, like, I've not experienced it before, like in a real scenario, but for practice, right? I don't know, maybe we should just test it and see what is going to happen at the end of the day. But I think if a particular table has maybe like 16, like you said, maybe one table has 16 columns, another table has maybe a lesser column, right? I know that we can actually append them. we can actually append them, but the only problem there is that the column that does not exist in the other table will be empty. Like I think you mentioned that already, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be empty. So what do we do in that scenario? Probably we go back to the drawing board or maybe to the data source and go and figure, do the right things from the data source.
Okay,
I think
thank you, sir.
that's what I'm saying.
Let me hear from Alima. Alima and okay, let me hear Alima first, then Shegun.
Okay, so for the tables that do not have the same number of columns, in my own opinion, I feel Power BI would automatically align the columns that match with their names and then give the other one null values.
Can you come again? Sorry.
So for the table that has 13 columns, what it will do when you append is that it would automatically match the columns that have similar names, and then the columns that are not in the other tables will just have null values.
Okay. The one we
So
have
one
no.
can
Okay, I
now
think
do
I've heard that before.
maybe you can do a fill down, or you can replace values or something to handle the missing values if it's actually necessary.
Okay. Okay, Shegun.
Hi, good evening. So my own opinion is I feel if one of the table is not up to the other and we are merging, so it shows
The
that
appending, sir.
we
Appending.
are appending, and it shows that one table is above the other table. First thing is the other table that is more, is those columns, are they relevant? For we to be having lesser columns in the initial table, it's not possible for us to report higher columns in the other table. Right? Yes. So which means, let's say for instance, Nigeria, we are reporting for, as you said, Nigeria and Ghana. Nigeria is having 10 columns. Ghana is having 5 columns. They want us to report for the both country. So we cannot report what is not in Ghana and say we are reporting for Nigeria. No. So they want a unified reporting for both countries.
Yeah.
And that is, this first idea is applicable for some specific data sets. We use our discretion to say, let's pull down this column. But on the flip side, if there is need for us to report that, then they should tell us, the data engineer that is working on that should tell us, why is this data not happening or not occurring in the other data set, in the other table? Yeah, so we can't just say we are removing or we are filling down. Yeah, that's my opinion.
Okay, it's not to waste our time because we want to make this class just want to 1 hour is today. Nothing like passing that 1 hour again. So I will just say this to conclude that the approach to it is not one-way approach, right? Everything is based on your context and your situation, and also your understanding of the data, right? So let's say, for example, the 2 extra columns that table A has is probably maybe something that has to do with maybe the postal code, and maybe table B doesn't have postal code, right? Probably maybe there's another ID they attach when there's a delivery, right? You know, when there's an order, that order generates an ID, right? And when there's a delivery also, some companies that they also have another delivery ID that shows that. So when you see those rows empty, it means that delivery didn't happen in the first place. So those things can occur. So let's say they track delivery. There's delivery ID in the table A, and table B, which is another country, probably does not have delivery ID. They only have other ID, right? So what you can do is that, if in my own suggestion, what I can tell you is that if there's no provision for it at all in table B, right? What you can simply do is probably just go to your choose column and just uncheck that part for a little while, right? You can just uncheck it. Don't remove. I always don't advise that removing. I can only tell you to, just go to choose column and just check or uncheck the columns you need. That's number one. Number two is that there are some situations whereby you might just need to probably join the delivery ID and the other ID together and use that to form the unique ID for the table B. I'll be sorry, table A that has those extra ones, and use that to form the new ID for that column. Instead of you saying you want to remove that delivery ID, just join other ID and delivery ID together, and that forms the new ID for that table A. Right? That's another way. So there's no particular way, sincerely. It all depends on what you want to look at is the impact. The impact of what you are doing, impact of which one is going to lead, which you are going to uncheck, which one is important. If it's not really important, you can uncheck it. If it's important, you can find a way of merging, joining two columns together to become one and all of those things. So that is just my own suggestion to that. So I think to do that, I'll keep it to time. We've come to the end of today's class. I hope you enjoyed the class. Next week, we are probably going to do it on Saturday. I don't know yet. The class captain will communicate the date and time to us before Wednesday. What again do I want to say? There's no attendance for today, so don't worry about that, Isaiah. But there'll be attendance by next week, by the next class. So what again do I want to say? For next class, so Isaiah, can you say hi to everyone? Can you say hi to everyone?
Hi.
Okay, so Isaiah is one of our class captains. He will be the one teaching us how to create aggregated tables in Power BI. He will teach us group by, teach us how to use DAX to do it, and also how to use your SQL queries inside your SQL Management Studio to also do that. So that, and after his class, if time permits us, I will take you through query folding. Query folding is a very interesting topic. We will treat that query folding before we dive into the concluding part of Power Query. Then we will now start data modeling. Any questions so far? Akin Bobola.
Good evening, sir. Thank you very
Good evening.
much for the lessons. I just want to ask a question that why appending? Because this happened to me a while ago. So the data types were not correct because while importing the data from the data source, some of the dates, which the data type for the date, one of the it was changed to text. So while appending it, just scattered all over. So I had to change the data type, correct the date, then it worked. So that also happened sometimes.
Okay, so thank you for that. So the data types must be consistent across all the tables you want to append. That's what you are trying to say, Abikola.
Yes.
Okay, yes, that's a very good point. Yes, so you heard what you said. Data type must be consistent before you go and append, so it won't scatter your whole Samad, Brian.
Thanks for this session, Mr. Binga. So what about you didn't talk about position? What about the position when we are appending? Take for instance now, for the sales one, we have other ID in column one, but sales two, maybe the column what's it called?
Thank you for that.
The other IDs in the fifth column and like
Yeah,
the appending still
I
gonna
was
work.
about saying that.
Or,
I forgot because I was trying to keep to time. So it doesn't matter the arrangement of the columns in the two tables. What matters is the name of the column. Do you understand?
Okay, no
Mr.
problem.
Ibrahim?
Yeah.
And the consistency of the data type across the tables and across the columns. Yes. Thank you for that. Thank you. Yeah. So that's it. Any other comments before we end the class? Before you go, guys, I have an assignment for each of the group. Can you make it very fast, Gabriel? We're spending more than 1 hour already.
Please, sorry, please. Hello, sir.
Yeah, we can hear you, but can you increase your volume?
Okay, please. Is he also case sensitive? I mean, they are pending. Yeah. Is he also case sensitive?
What do you mean by that, sir? By case sensitive?
I mean, maybe the first data set is in lower case. Why I'm talking about the headers. Why the other set maybe is in upper case. So are they case sensitive also when appending? It doesn't matter.
Okay. It is case sensitive, sir.
Okay.
Do you understand? So if you have
yes,
sales amount and the sales amount is only the first S that is capital in table A, and sales amount column in table B is capital S for sales and capital A for amount, it's not going to append it well.
Okay.
So it is case sensitive.
Okay, thank you very much.
Onye,